So I've been wearing this Whoop device now for about 9 months. Today we're going to be taking a look across these areas and saying after 9 months, is the Whoop device still worth it given that it's a subscription-based service? What are the benefits that I've found from wearing the Whoop for such a long period of time, and what things do you need to be aware of? So the first thing that we're going to take a look at is the cost. Now I paid for my Whoop device up front and I paid about £240 to start off with, but it's a subscription service, so this is where they get you. It's not like a one-off purchase. If you're using it, you need to use it for a sustained period of time, and that's going to cost you money. They do update the app, they do update the software, but you are tied into it. So I'm guessing at some point if I stop subscribing, then I'm not going to get the benefits that I currently have from using the device. So here's what you need to know. In the first month of wearing the device, it's going to be calibrating. So you can't really just buy the device and then just subscribe for 1 month. I actually found within my stats, it took me like the first couple of months to calibrate the data and understand where my body was in relation to its performance, the heart rate variability, and all the different metrics that it was tracking. But after about 6 weeks, it started to stabilize. And this comes into the second point, which is really about the accuracy of the device. Now, the accuracy of the device, it's not a medical device. It measures like your respiratory rate, your heart rate, your sleep. But it's not so much as important that it's that accurate. For example, calories I don't think are very accurate at all. It's more important about the trends and patterns. You see, as long as it's measuring consistently the stats and data that you're wanting to know, then all you need to focus on is moving that data in a positive direction. So as long as the accuracy of the device is consistent, does it matter so much that the device isn't accurate in terms of a full medical, scientific, peer-researched heart rate variability analysis? No, not really. It just matters that it's tracking the trends, it's tracking the patterns, and therefore you need a long enough period of time to know whether your statistics are going up in the right direction, because you need to know whether the behaviors that you're exhibiting are actually sending your various stats in a positive or a negative direction. So the next things that we want to look at is how the app is broken down. So for the purpose of this, I've recorded my screen. You can see this week, it's not been great for me, but on the front page, you've got an overview. And in the overview section, you've got your sleep with your sleep coach, and that's a key part of the app, really. It tries to coach you into becoming a better person, tries to coach you into being better at sleeping, better at exercising, and I'll come on to that a little bit later. It gives you your main stats in terms of the activity that you've done for the day. So it says that I've done some activity, which isn't actually the case, but it's picked up that I must have had some strain or stress in the day, and it gives you your sleep. So I always use this page to look at general trends and use these little triangles, as you can see here, 79, sleep performance was slightly up, and understanding my calories. So then you can move on to the different sections. So under the sleep app, once you click into the blue section there, it gives you how your sleep was last night. So it tells you how many wake events you had, which I found really interesting. So sometimes you can track, actually, I was sleeping in a hot room, or I was sleeping with the radiator on, or I had the window open. You could track temperature and see whether it impacts on how often you wake, or perhaps your kids were coming in the bed, as is my case. And sometimes your sleep and wake events are actually really disrupted. Now you will know that, and I'll come on to this, about the impact of things like alcohol really affect like your sleep wake events, and this comes into a theme later on that we're talking about, which is actually becoming more in tune with your body, more in line with understanding what your body's doing, and over time you will actually rely less on the app, because you'll know within your own physiology and how you feel as to whether you are or you're not actually performing at a peak level. So that's your sleep, and it tracks various REM sleep, deep sleep, and light sleep, as you can see here. If you go back to the main page, again, you've got time in bed, which is quite good, and each of these you have individual levels that you can drill down into to see what time you've been into bed, and you can see the amount of restorative sleep that you've had and the different patterns and trends over a period of time. The good thing about that is you look at sleep consistency. You can actually look at it here on a 6 month, 1 month, or weekly pattern, so you can see the trends over a period of time, which is quite helpful. And then we come on to recovery, which is the main thing that I focus on. So the recovery really should be ideally in the green if you're going to perform at peak performance. So say like you've got a big event, you want to try and get yourself into the green. Mine's been really bad for the past few weeks, but that's a combination of factors. You can see the trends and patterns over periods of time, and it calculates this based on a number of different factors, including your heart rate variability, your respiratory rate, which I don't really know how it calculates, and your sleep pattern, and then it gives you, based on those metrics, a different level of recovery. And the goal should always be to aim at 70-80% if you can train that in the green, because then it comes on to strain. So you can see where you've had various strain, what you'll probably find is that your recovery will be lower on the next day. So you can see where your average heart rate has been higher or lower, and then it gives you your calories. And in particular, I don't think this is very accurate. I mean, it's saying for me over the last 6 months, it should have been taking 2,800 calories. I think I'm more about 2,200 or 2,300. But hey ho, who knows? Maybe I'm counting wrong. Maybe this is counting more accurately. actually. So that's the Whoop. They're the basic features. Now here I'm going to go on, I'm going to talk about some of the gripes that I have with the actual Whoop device. And the first thing is, and it's really, really basic, and I think it should be on all fitness devices, it doesn't track your steps. So for me, tracking my steps is a key thing. Now you can't always use your phone to track your steps, and the key thing you can't use your phone for is because you don't always have your phone on you. So I have another watch on, but then it's not a smartwatch. So then I'd have to wear a smartwatch, and I'd have to wear my Whoop device, and end up just being this like fitness tracker nerd geek, and I just don't want that. So Whoop, if you're listening to this, get your step calorie or a pedometer built into this. Now the other thing is the battery life is really good. I would say you get between 4 and 6 days, but the beautiful thing about this that you don't have to do with a smartwatch is you don't ever have to take it off. Shower, bath, whatever, do what you want with it. It's fully waterproof, but also you've got a clip on here with the battery that you can just clip in. I've actually got it here, so you just clip that in, slots down onto that, and then it just starts charging. So you actually charge this device and you don't need to take it off, which I think is absolutely brilliant and one of the best things about it. You don't have to worry about it. Charge that up, charge your device, and it charges quite quickly, and it lasts for about 4 to 6 days. So overall, after 9 months, what would I say as to whether I'm going to continue on and whether I think it's worthwhile having this? Here's the key things that I've picked up. Number one is that when you take alcohol, sugary foods, or you eat close to bedtime, it messes up your sleep pattern. That can also mess up the rest of your day. You feel it actually in yourself, but what actually happens with the app and the Whoop is that you actually find the way that you feel correlates often to how you feel on the Whoop device, but this isn't always a good thing. And the reason it's not always a good thing is because sometimes your app might tell you that you've got low recovery, you don't feel great, but you actually feel better than you do, and it puts you in a bit of a psychological downer, and you think maybe I won't train today, maybe I need to just recover, maybe I need to sleep more, and that's not always the case. So sometimes it plays psychological games with you actually when you think you're not as recovered, when you feel that you're more recovered than the app's actually telling you. However, over time you do start to intuitively understand what things you're doing to understand your body better to perform at peak performance. So I think after 12 months of using this device, you've probably got enough information that you can actually just intuitively know what and when you need to do things in your life to make sure that you're performing optimally. And the other analogy that I'd give for this is if you use MyFitnessPal for a long period of time, you'd often find with MyFitnessPal that you actually don't need to track your food so much because you know this food's got that much protein in, this food's got that much carbs, and you know roughly the calories that are in food. Same thing with this. Over time, you're eventually going to know and understand your own body. Well, I think this would be really useful, in particular if you were like an elite performing athlete or even a high-end athlete, you had an event coming up and you really wanted to make sure that you're in peak performance. But the problem with it is that you can't just dip in and dip out of it, and that's what I don't like about the device. It's a clever business model from a subscription-based service, but from a practicality point of view and flexibility, it's not great. There are other options out there. For example, some of the rings and even like the iPhone and other things like that have really good fitness trackers and metrics on it. Samsung have their own fitness watch, but I actually think in terms of practicality, battery duration, ease on the wrist, not getting in your way, not having to worry about recharging, this is definitely the overall best practical fitness device that you need. Plus, you don't ever have to take it off, which is absolutely a brilliant bonus. The only thing that I wish it had on, like I said, is that step count. If you've been wearing a Whoop device for a long period of time, let me know. You're going to stick with it? You're going to stick with the subscription-based service?